Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. So we've just had a delivery and we have the parts for the Bentley service, or at least one of the deliveries has come in. The other one is still with UPS. So come on UPS, sort it out. But let's have a look and see what has come in the box. First up, we have the bonnet release cable. So my bonnet's a little bit slow in opening, so I decided to change the cable over. What else do we have here? So we've got the relays. They need changing every 150,000 miles or kilometers, I can't remember. And although my car's not there in terms of mileage, I decided to get it changed. So this is basically something that controls the traction control and the ABS, I think it is. So I thought, let's get that done. They're not that expensive, and there should be two of them. Yeah, there's another one over here. So there's another relay there. So we'll get that swapped over, nice easy swap. This is my traction control cable. So basically my traction control is not working because this cable is snapped. So hopefully that's going to be a simple change and we can then get that done. Here we have the gearbox filter itself. So we'd actually have to open up the filter and then open up the gearbox itself, remove the old filter and change that. That's actually supposed to be changed every 10,000 miles. So every major service really, or every year. Most people probably don't do it. So what do we have here? So here we've got the latch for the bonnet. So basically at the front of the bonnet, my bonnet doesn't open particularly well, so I want to get that sorted. So these are the springs. Now there's a left and a right. I could only get a right, so I've got two rights, and then I'll just change the spring in the one that I've got on the left hand side. So that should be good. Right, so here we have an original Bentley. Now this is a fuel filter, but you will see that actually it is a Bosch. Even from Bentley, it's a Bosch unit that comes in. Probably paid a little bit over for that, but at least it all came together and it's the correct one. So in the future I can hopefully just order that Bosch. Here we've got the air filters, pack of two. So there's two in there. So it's a left and a right. This goes up by the windscreen. So this is the pollen filter actually, that's a pollen filter. So next let's have a look inside here. Lots of little goodies in here. This is actually the service pack. So let's start with this over here. So this is the oil filter, and so you can see it's not Bentley branded, but it's exactly the same. It's basically it's a service kit that comes from Introcar. This is part of their Prestige parts range. So it's exactly the same. Rather than having just the Bentley stamp, decided to go for just the service kit. Okay, so here we've got a couple of washers. Probably drop those down there. I don't want to lose those. Let's have a look at this one next. So this is the air filter. So in the Red Label there's only a single air filter, whereas I think the Arnage T has two air filters. So that's that. These things here. Now you recall the pollen filters, which were these items here. Now the cassettes for those that those go into, they have like a rubber seal, and most people probably don't even replace the rubber seals, but I wanted to get it done properly. So that's the rubber for the rubber seal, and you'll see that in the video when we do the service. So if you haven't already subscribed, then subscribe, and then you'll be able to see the service. And here we have the gearbox filter itself. This is actually a lot thicker than I thought it was going to be, and it's like really hard plastic. So anyhow, that's the gearbox filter. I won't take that out. We'll take it out when we're going to be actually doing the service itself. Okay, so we've had the second batch of stuff come in. Let me run through. This has all come from Flying Spares. These are 4 of the boot struts, so the boot currently is not opening, so we'll be able to get that changed. I'll come back to this black thing in a second. These are the cabin filters, and there's 2 of them in the pack. Most people don't change these. If you own an Arnage, change these, and change these every year, because if you don't change these, what will happen is eventually your heater blower fan will blow, and you'll have to replace that, and that involves taking out half the interior, including the dashboard, to get to the blower fan. These are inexpensive, so just change these on a yearly basis. It'll keep your blower fans in good condition. So these are the Bs for the alloy wheels. Now my ones have, basically they've faded, so they don't look very nice. This is a relatively inexpensive item. Can't remember exactly. I'll pop up on screen how much it actually was, but I thought let me change all 4 and that's done. So that will make it look a lot nicer. And then finally, this is the heel pad for the floor mats. So my one is actually missing. Very common on these to get damaged and then go missing. And this is supposed to be stitched in. I don't see any holes, so I guess it's just, you stitch wherever, but it obviously needs to be glued down and stitched in, so gonna get this sorted out as well. So happy, got all my parts here now. So job number 1 on the Bentley is to change this cable here. So you can see that there's no cable sticking out the other end, it's snapped. It normally goes to there and then clips into some place behind that little hole over there, and on this side it comes to this little box over here. So we're just going to take it out, and then hopefully that will mean that the traction control is back to working again. Well, the good news is we've changed the cable and it's connected in from that side into the throttle body, comes around here and it's connected into here. But where we're struggling now is they've put the screw underneath, which we were able to open, but now that we're trying to close it, it's just quite tricky. So they could have put the screw in from the top, but the way that it's designed is actually it's got the screw underneath it, so just makes everything a little bit harder. So the engine is now back together. Let's have a look and see if the traction control light stays off or not. Okay, let's give it a shot. And the traction control lights turned off. It came off very briefly there, just as we started, but it switched off again. So I think we're good. So another job that I'm doing is I'm changing the central caps. So these ones don't look, well, I mean they look bad, but compared to the other side were completely faded. There was no red showing at all. And these are actually pretty easy to take off. I've just loosened this up slightly with my hand, so that comes off. And then this is the replacement one. And you'll see there is this little notch down here. So I think it's that notch is what goes in like that. And it took a bit of fiddling around, but managed to just knock it in, just pushing it in with my hand, sort of giving it a bit of a whack. But that all seemed to work fine. It looks a lot better now. Let me show you the old ones. You can see in comparison, these are the old one, and these ones lost its red completely. So really looks quite bad on the car. The alloys themselves are in really good condition, so makes sense to get the sensors looking right, and it's not even that expensive. So while we're talking about the wheels, I wanted to talk about the tyres, because I'd mentioned before these were the wrong tyres. So they're supposed to be 255/50 R18s, these are the 55s, and I'd mentioned that it was driving really badly. It felt like driving on ice skates. Now, we changed the traction control wire last week, and it's transformed it. It really has changed the way that the car handles. It's not just in my head, it actually does. But what you'll notice here is that these are Scorpion tyres, Pirelli Scorpion tyres, which are basically 4x4 tyres. So the previous guy, to when I first bought it, he changed all 4 tyres to Pirelli Scorpions. and unfortunately he's got these 4x4 tyres on it. Now that I've changed it now that I've changed the traction control cable, it really does seem to make a difference. So I think I'm okay with these for now. I mean, they've got plenty of life left on them, so I don't just want to change them for the sake of changing them, because now it does seem to drive okay. But I just thought I'd mention that because I'd mentioned previously that it was driving really badly, but that seems to have been resolved now.